Well, welcome back, SMITE fans. We're not done just yet today. Remember, just before we jumped into the break, I mentioned that we've got a very special draft show available for you guys, and that's what's going to be happening over the course of the next few minutes out here. We have 4 representatives from each of the teams that qualified during the Phase 3 playoffs, and they're going to be going in seeding order to pick which of the 4 teams from this weekend events that they want to play up against in the quarterfinals. Remember, your number 1 seeding is going to be the Camelot Kings. After that, the Atlantis Leviathans, Jade Dragons, and then the Olympus Bolts. So they're going to pick from those in that order to see which team that they want to have in a face-off against the quarterfinals. Now, Charlie, we heard a little bit of rumblings, at least with Hex Mambo, that they were targeting out the Camelot Kings, saying that they want to pick them up there. You think the Kings are going to call their bluff on that?
I mean, it depends. Because I already talked about why I think Deathwalker said that. It makes him look way cooler if they do pick him. He can say, "Yeah, I wanted this," and if they don't, he can be like, "Whew, we didn't get the King." So he covered his bases. I don't know if the Kings they're number 1 right now. They don't have to take that bluff.
Yeah, the Kings can kind of just have the pick of the litter at the 4 teams that are here. And if you missed out on the majority of this weekend and you just want a good little news there, we can kind of give you at least what the 4 teams that are going to be there. Let's take, though, a look at the bracket for how the World's qualifiers, or World's quarterfinals, I should say, will pan out. The number 1 seed, Camelot Kings, will wait for their pick there. The Olympus Bolts on the same side of the bracket as them, the number 1 and number 4 seed. Then the Atlantis Leviathans and the Jade Dragons down on the lower end of the bracket, awaiting their opponents for their picks. And the teams that they are picking from, remember, are going to be the Tartarus Titans, Hex Mambo, the Highland Ravens, and the Oni Warriors. You heard that right. Remember, 2 SPL teams and 2 SCC teams to pick from, something that we haven't seen, I don't think, ever, seeing multiple SCC squads that have made a Worlds run until, I mean, if we dial back like way towards like the beginning of SMITE's history at those Worlds when we had a lot of the international teams playing in there. So very curious to see how some of this drafting is going to go through. We're going to delay no further. Let's jump right to Dave, who's going to be talking with the Camelot Kings on who their pick is going to be.
That's right. Let's go ahead and get our first quarterfinal locked in. Biggie, there was a shout out from Hex Mambo, Deathwalker specifically. Before you reveal who your pick is, has that played into your decision at all? The talk from Deathwalker calling you guys out specifically.
No, I don't think we really paid attention. I think Deathwalker's just a bit of a character, and obviously it's easy to talk shit because they have no pressure on them. They just, I mean, it's weird because I think they should, because they are just, in my opinion, a top 4 SPL team. They just choose not to play SPL. They choose just chill in Europe and then come over a bit, talk some shit, go home. So.
And then head on back. So with that, I'm assuming it's not going to be a Hex Mambo pick. Who will you guys be playing in the quarterfinals of the SMITE World Championship?
We're choosing the Ravens.
The Highland Ravens up against the Camelot Kings in the first quarterfinal. What leads into that decision?
I think just out of all the teams, I think they're in a weaker group. I think they look the weakest of the 4 teams. Of all the other teams, including them, they have momentum. We don't have momentum. So for me, I'd be failing as a coach if I was to put my team against, a strong opponent. Sure. As like, Mambo or whoever, Titans, whatever. We just need to build momentum through the weekend. And, you never know. Like, maybe you start off rusty, and at least if we're against a team that's kind of much weaker than us, then we can, kind of battle through and build momentum, like I said, through the weekend.
Does Worlds adapting scare you at all? Adapting back on the world stage? How much is that planned into your mindset?
I mean, it doesn't really scare me. I think they're very strong. They look very strong to their dual lane and kind of Kenna on the back of that. But no, I mean, I'm happy for him to be back and playing at Worlds for sure, but not scared now.
Gonna be a lot of fun. Excited for that matchup. Thanks for your pick. Looking forward to seeing you guys on stage on Friday. Yark, you as well? Sure, Yark, why don't you head on over? I got one for you. I'll ask you the same question, and then don't worry, we'll be done. Adapting at Worlds. Does it worry you more than your coach, less than your coach? Not playing into your mind at all?
Not really. I'm just excited for the matchup. That's a classic. That's Captain Twin against Adapting. I'm just ready to be there to see it, myself. Right. So, yeah.
Just around the corner. Yark, best of luck in your matchup. Back to the desk to break this one down.
So the Camelot Kings, their first selection is the number 2 EU SCC team of the Highland Ravens that were able to make their run through in their group. Taking down the Eldritch Hounds, there's a 3-0 in that matchup. So the Highland Ravens at least looking like the second hottest team of the SCC to come through there. The Camelot Kings may be thinking that they're not all that, Charlie.
I mean, I like what Biggie said, trying to build momentum, right? Give yourself what you believe is an easy matchup, get some wins under your belt, and then you can use that to go all the way to the finals. I think a smart pick, and I like the reasoning for it.
And the important thing to remember is those quarterfinals are a best of 3, so starting out as strong as you can right out the gate is very important. But we have our next pick ready to go. The Atlantis Leviathans standing by with Dolson.
That's right. I got Rongyu with me. So, Rongyu, one of 2 SEC teams off the table. You got Oni Warriors, you got Titans, you got Hex Mambo to pick from here. Go ahead and give me your pick for your quarterfinal matchup.
Titans.
Oh, the Tartarus Titans, the second team off the board. This is a team that you guys beat in the World's Finals last year. What stuck out about the Titans making them your opponent pick?
I just follow my Captain Sapman instructions.
Did Zapman tell you to come in and pick the Titans? Wholehearted trust. And was there any conversation that goes on behind the scenes, or was it Zapman throwing down the gauntlet?
Well, we kind of talk about it, and it was like we might have a better draft and playstyle against the Titan. That's pretty much it.
Fair enough. Well, look, that's going to be an exciting one. Some history in the first round of the SMITE World Championship. Leviathans up against the Tartarus Titans. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the world stage. Thanks for your pick. Back to the desk.
Wow, we get a World's Finals rematch from Season 8 in the quarterfinals of all places, Charlie. This is going to be an absolutely crazy matchup to go through out there. But I think maybe some importance in that. The Tartarus Titans been looking a little bit shaky as the rest of the season has gone through, but like what I'm hearing from Rongyu and the Leviathans.
I like the idea that Zap just said, hey, man, just go in there and say Titans. All right, bye. And then Rong just got in the car and said, all right, man, I'll go do it. I don't know. I trust you, and that's what happened. But definitely should be an exciting one. We've seen the matchup before, but it may be a little different this time around.
Well, there's only 2 teams left for our teams that have already qualified to pick through. The next one, we got PBM for the Jade Dragons standing by for his selection.
And I got Polar Bear Mike to make that selection. Mike, we're down to Oni Warriors and Hex Mambo. Oni Warriors just won. They qualified back to Worlds. Hex Mambo qualified earlier on this weekend. Biggie feeling like Hex Mambo, top 4 SPL team? Are they going to get picked up early? Who's your opponent here in the quarterfinals?
Well, in the summer playoffs, we played Mambo first round, and then we played the Warriors the second round. And Mambo was harder, so I'm taking the Warriors.
The Oni Warriors off the board. So that's going to leave Hex Mambo, the last pick team from this qualifier event. You obviously saw it meant a lot to the Oni Warriors to qualify. Any remorse at potentially crushing those dreams first round of Worlds?
At the end of the day, I don't really mind too much who we play. I just want to, if we're going to win the tournament, if any team's going to win the tournament, you got to be able to beat anybody. So, whether we got Mambo or, Titans, Warriors, doesn't matter to me. Just looking forward to a good event and hopefully play well.
Does momentum play into this at all for you guys? I mean, Oni Warriors just played. You guys have been down for a few months here. I know you guys are going to have some warm-up time once you get out there. Do you think there's anything to be said about that?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, we've been scrimming a lot, as have, every team going up to this point. Nerve level, on stage, I'm very comfortable there. I think most of my teammates are very comfortable there, so I'm not worried about it at all.
It's going to be a good one, Mike. Thanks for your selection. Back to the desk.
So the Jade Dragons versus the Oni Warriors for our third of those quarterfinal matchups, which means it's only going to leave us, well, unfortunately for the Bolts, one option on their selection.
We don't know who they're going to pick.
Yeah, it could be a coin toss, Charlie, on which team the Olympus Bolts would actually like to go with there. So let's delay no further. I believe we got Venenu standing by with the Olympus Bolts to make his selection.
Indeed. Ven, we've got one option left. Who are the Olympus Bolts going to be playing in the quarterfinals?
Mambo.
Hex Mambo. So what leads into that decision? Just kidding. This weekend we saw a lot of momentum built up from the Hex Mambo. They beat a couple of the SPL squads. Do you feel like they are the most difficult opponent coming out of this weekend?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're on a lot of momentum and stuff like that. I think they played really, really well. They played their style, so I'm excited to play them.
Individual matchups here. You'll be going up against Zeros, and admittedly, Zeros likes to kick back, farm up on the Chronos for a little while. But Johnny really took some games over this weekend. I assume Lasbro at some point realized that's probably who you guys would be playing against. Do you think matchup-wise, 1-to-1, you guys match up effectively into Hex Mambo?
I haven't faced them before, so not too sure. But it's a little grudge match with Trix and Lass, so I'm curious. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think it's gonna be fun.
We'll see how Laz steps up on the world stage. Final thoughts from you. You've won Worlds in the past. You've played in front of crowds. You excited to get back in front of fans out in Texas?
Oh yeah, 100%. Excited to hear the crowd scream and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. So yeah.
Hopefully some big moments from the Bolts. Yeah. Thanks for your pick. I guess we'll see what happens. Bolts up against Hex Mambo. Our final quarterfinal is set, and with that, back to the desk.
So the Olympus Bolts and Hex Mambo and a big look now at what our quarterfinals are going to look like here, Charlie. Remember, Camelot Kings And in the Highland Ravens facing off, the Atlantis Leviathans, Tartarus Titans, Jade Dragons against the Oni Warriors, and then the Olympus Bolts now against Hex Mambo, which actually creates a very interesting dynamic as far as the bracket is concerned there, because that puts both the number 1 and the number 4 seed coming in here, the Camelot Kings and the Olympus Bolts, with both of the SCC teams on that same exact side of the group. I mean, looking at this bracket, it's wild to think that we're seeing both SCC on the same side. Obviously, there's always potential chance for upset there, but with how hot the Hex Mambo are looking this weekend, we have a very realistic potential that we could be seeing maybe even an SCC make it just beyond the quarterfinals and even make it towards semis.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. You know, when this weekend started during the waiting room before this tournament began, I was asked, you know, did I think an SCC team had even a shot to make it out? And I said one. I said Hex Mambo. I believed, not even could, I said would. And they did. However, the Ravens surprised me. I knew they had the chance to. I knew if they showed up hot, they would. But they looked a lot better than I think a lot of people expected. And they could continue that streak, right? Momentum is a big deal, especially when you're playing in front of Worlds and you're on World stage like that. They still have that hot hand on them. So I think they definitely could surprise some people.
And I think an important part to highlight with the Ravens, something that we hit a couple of times but maybe didn't slam down there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, is just the fact that this was a sub coming for the team, that there's high ping for their mid laner who's playing from home on the Highland Ravens. We're going to talk about the Highland Ravens and all of these matchups in depth in just a little bit. We do have a very special kind of post-cast waiting room going on. I don't exactly know the official name of this one, but we're going to have
SWC waiting room.
SWC waiting room that's going to be happening in just a few minutes. We'll have all 4 of the casters in here to talk about that. That'll be up in just a few minutes.